What's up gamers? My name is Calabai and I have a build video for you today. Yet again it's another PvP build and this time it's a hybrid Templar. It's been a while since I've worked on a Templar build and it feels good to be back. Now I'll be honest, Templar is not in the best spot right now. It struggles to go toe to toe with Wardens and Dragon Knights which have been dominating PvP for a while. But you can make it work. And most importantly, you can have fun with it too. If you want the short version of this build, then check out the 1 minute build version. I'll leave a link to that in the description. But if you want all the details, then stay right here. So let's get into it. Okay, so here we are. Here's our PvP Templar. First of all, let's get into the stats. What we got on the front bar, we got about 30k health, 23k magicka, 16k stamina, a nice pool of both magicka and stamina recovery, 4,500 spell damage, but that could go way higher, some really nice penetration at 7,500, and resistance is a bit on the low side, but we are a vampire. We do have more on the back bar. We got, so we're stage 3 vampire. So we get the undeath passive, which means we take up to 30% less damage. We are putting 58 into magicka, so most of our points into magicka and a few into health. I like to get over 30k for PvP at least. It's really nice to have. We're using the Apprentice Munderstone for some extra spell damage, and we're using Smoked Bear Haunch Food for the max health and the recoveries as well. Very expensive food, but it's nice to have both stamina and magicka recovery. Stamina recovery for our break freeze and dodge rolls and blocking, and magicka recovery for our damaging skills. In terms of race, we are an Imperial, and with potions we're using immovability pots with Major Expedition. Because we've got really nice burst on this build, it's nice to pop a immovability pot and then line up our burst nice and neat without getting stunned or interrupted or anything. It's really nice, and good old detect pots to bring Nightblades out of stealth too. And yeah, Imperial is our race as well. Okay, so I'm going to start by saying that before we get into the gear, Templar's not in the best place right now. I think the jab skill got nerfed in update 35, and then Power of the Light or Backlash got nerfed in update 36. So they're really not fantastic, but you can make it work. I have tried hundreds of different armor types, or like armor sets and everything, because you know me, I like making weird wacky builds. I usually don't like playing the meta. I find that a bit boring. I like to find something that's a bit weird, but it works. In terms of Templar though, that's not possible, so we've just gone full meta. We've put some of the best sets for PvP on, and so we've made a pretty solid build. So the way this build works is it's got a lot going on. It's got a damage set on that only runs on the front bar, and it's got a survivability set that only runs on the back bar, and then we've got the monster set and a mythic and a one piece as well. Okay, so right, first of all, on the front bar we're running Deadly Strike, which gives us damage, crit chance damage, and increases the damage of your damage over time and channeled abilities by 15%. So this is pretty much all of the Templar skills. Damage over time and channeled abilities, that's our jabs, radiant destruction, all that. So we have this on a sword and a mace. Sword for the extra damage, mace for the extra penetration. We've got them both sharpened. And then we have it on 3 body pieces. Because Deadly can only come in medium, I decided to put 3 body pieces on for the extra stam recovery and movement speed and stuff. So we have that on 2 weapons, and then I have it on the belt, feet, and legs. And then, so that's only active on the front bar because we're only doing damage on the front bar. If we switch to the back bar, you know, we don't need it. We don't need the 15% extra damage. But on the back bar, we are running 5-piece Rallying Cry, which gives us crit chance, magicka crit chance, and then while we have Battle Spirit active, which is in PvP, whenever we critically heal ourselves or an ally, we gain weapon and spell damage and a huge amount of crit resistance. But that does be less effective if you're in bigger groups, so this really is good for small group or even solo play. So we have this, because this is only available in light, we have it on a back bar defending 2-hand. And then we have it on 2 jewelry pieces. I've got it on a necklace and a ring. And then 1 piece on a small armor piece. So I've got it on the gloves. So weapon, 2 jewelry and the gloves. And then that's only active on the back bar, because you switch to your back bar, you do a heal. It will crit heal like pretty much all the time. And then that will proc, and then you can switch to your front bar and it will still be active. So Deadly Strike on the front bar, Rallying Cry on the back bar, and then we're running a Balog's monster set, which gives us damage, and then when we use an ultimate ability, you gain weapon and spell damage equal to the amount of total ultimate consumed. So this really helps us with our burst. When I talk about skills, I'll talk about this a bit more. But we've got that on a heavy helmet and a light shoulder. And then that gives us 1 ring left. So I've gone for the mythic Ring of the Wild Hunt, which increases your movement speed by 15% while in combat, and increases your movement speed by 45% while out of combat. Movement speed is king in Cyrodiil, if you ask me. If you can't move, you're stuck there, then you really need to be tanky. So if you're not super tanky, you need to move and line of sight and get behind things. So I love Wild Hunt on this. Plus it just feels better when you can move around real quick, you know? And then that just leaves 1 more piece for a heavy chest of the trainee to give us that max health. So we've got a lot of different sets going on here. Deadly on the front bar, Rallying Cry on the back bar, Balog's monster set, trainee, and Wild Hunt. That means we have got 3 medium, 2 heavy on the big pieces, and 2 light. And we've gone for a mix of divines, well fitted, and we've got 2 reinforced on big pieces, just to get a little bit more armor. Yeah, and some divines to help us with our damage as well. In terms of weapon traits, we've gone sharpened on the front bar, and we've gone defending on the back bar. You could go powered on the back bar, but personally I prefer defending because I prefer to take less damage originally and have a worse heal, rather than take a huge amount of damage and then but have a better heal, you know? It's just personal preference. And then on the jewelry, we have 2 infused, 1 with a magicka recovery and 1 with a stamina recovery, and then we have a swift magicka recovery as well for a bit of extra movement speed. If you find out that your recoveries are fine, you could switch these to damage as well. I like just having more recovery than I need. Okay, so let's talk about skills. This is a hybrid Templar, so we have a mix of both magicka and stamina skills, because they all scale off just your highest stat anyway, so they'll all be good. Ideally, if they don't be nerfed like Puncturing Sweep was. We're still using it. It's our main spammable. Still does a fairly decent amount of damage, reduces the enemy's movement speed, but the good thing about this morph is it heals you when you're doing damage. So I like doing damage and healing myself at the same time, so I took this morph. We are going Power of the Light, which does a damage over time, and then it does a giant load of burst damage based on the amount of damage you do to them. Again, this skill got nerfed as well, but when I talk about the rotation of skills, you'll see why these all come in handy. This also applies to Minor Breach, so reduces the armor by an extra 3k, which is very nice. We've gone for Binding Javelin, which does physical damage. The good thing about this skill is it cannot be blocked. Again, very handy when we talk about our rotation. And then we've got an Execute Radiant Glory, which does a huge amount of damage when they're below 50% health and heals you as well. And then I had a spare slot, so I put on Blinding Flare. I usually don't use this, but I have it slotted for the Major Protection. I like having Major Protection on the front bar because I like taking less damage whilst I'm trying to do damage, because then that means I never have to switch to my back bar and heal as much. Also, with Major Protection and the Undeath passive from Vampire, we get a lot of damage mitigation. Okay, so here, Shooting Star, the ultimate, this is where we really start to shine. This does a huge amount of damage, and then it does damage over time, and it can't be dodged. So the way this skill works is, it has to be blocked. So the way we do our rotation is, I will buff up with my back bar, and then the first skill I will use is Power of the Light, which reduces the armor and puts that dot on. And then I will use Shooting Star. Now, when you use Shooting Star, people have two options. They either take the entire meteor in the face, or they block it for reduced damage. But most people know to block it. So what we do is hit them with a Binding Javelin. So I'll use Power of the Light, Shooting Star, and as the Shooting Star is coming down, the next skill I will use, you don't have much time, so you have to get in pretty quick, is Binding Javelin. This can't be blocked, and it's a guaranteed stun. So as long as they're not CC immune, if you time it well, they will be stunned just as the Shooting Star hits, so they get hit for the full damage. And then you either jab, or probably Radiant Glory, because they'll be close to death, or they'll be below 50% health anyway, and then that's it. So it's a huge burst combination that you can't really do anything about. You know, they can't block it. If they try to block, they get hit by Binding Javelin. If they dodge roll, they'll dodge the Binding Javelin, but then they'll get hit by the Shooting Star anyway. So it really doesn't matter. There's just nothing they can do about it. So as long as they're not CC immune, it's one hell of a combination. Moving on to the back bar. Channeled Focus, gives us our Major Resolve, and as long as we stand in it, we get healed, and we get Magic Recovery as well. Good thing about this is you can just pop it down, and then you get the Magic Recovery no matter what. I just took it off. Good job, Kylabite. So yeah, you only just stand in it for the heal, so you still do get the benefits whilst being out of it. You got to be a bit careful though, because it does appear behind you quite often if you're running too fast. So what I like to do is I like to run behind something and then use it here whilst you're behind cover. Second is Race Against Time. This is our Major Expedition, our Minor Force for extra crit damage, and this removes snares and immobilizations. You probably know the skill, it's great. Do your Sigil Gorta skill line. Yeah, looking at you, I know you haven't done it yet. Get Race Against Time, it's worth it. Extended Ritual. This removes harmful effects from you. In PvP, there's always a lot of harmful effects, and it heals you, and allies can activate the synergy for an extra heal as well. Breath of Life. This is a good burst heal for when you're panicking. You could maybe instead take Resolving Vigor, which is it heals for more, but over 5 seconds, and it gives you minor resolve, increasing your resistances a bit more. The only problem I had with this is I found myself running out of stamina a bit too often, and I liked a bit more of a rely on the burst heal. Personal preference though, if you feel like you're not using too much stamina, put that on. Either way. And Rally, I really like this skill. This has given us our Major Brutality and Sorcery, increasing our damage, and it gives us stamina recovery, and it heals. It heals every second, and then does a huge burst heal at the end as well, or if you reuse it before the end. So we get I kind of like having a nice stamina heal, and then a nice magicka heal, so no matter what situation I'm in PvP, if I'm out of stamina, I use Breath of Life. If I'm out of magicka, I use Rally. So yeah. And then Swarming Scion. This is the Vampire Ultimate, pretty much just makes us unkillable for a while. This is great to use because we're using the Balrog's monster set, so we become unkillable and get a lot of damage, which is something I forgot about the Shooting Star as well, because you'll use Power of the Light, use Shooting Star, get a huge amount of damage from the Balrog's monster set, and then, hit them with the Binding Javelin and Radiant Glory. So you're doing so much damage, and there's nothing they can do about that combo. So I'll show you in action a bit. Let's find something to kill. See, what I would do is I'll buff up, and then we do the thing. We hit them with Power of the Light, hit them with Shooting Star, and then before it lands, and then Radiant Destruction. And then that's pretty much it. Because the good thing is, you hit them with the Javelin to stun them, hit them with the Shooting Star, and then Power of the Light will explode just after that as well. So that's like, you get a huge burst damage from Shooting Star, you get a little bit of damage from Binding Javelin, you get a huge burst from Power of the Light, and then you get a huge burst execute from Radiant Glory as well. It's honestly, I used to use that combination like a few updates ago, when they made this skill unblockable, and it was way better back then, but it's still super strong now. Okay, last but not least, champion points, usual in the green tree. Again, just make sure you get the break full. You're going to be falling off keeps, you're going to be falling off cliffs, take the reduced damage, it's a lifesaver. In the blue tree, we have Ironclad, reducing your damage taken by direct damage attacks, Focus Mending for that extra healing, Master at Arms, increasing your damage with direct damage attacks, and Thaumaturge, increasing our damage with damage over time, because we got a lot of that. Red tree, we got the extra health through Boundless Vitality, we got Celerity, I love Celerity, I love the movement speed. I go on about it so much, I know, I'm sorry. Juggernaut, while under the effects of crowd control immunity, you take 1% less damage. 5% damage reduction is very nice, especially when you stack it with the Major Protection and the Undeath passive. And Pain's Refuge, reduce your damage taken by 2% for every 2 negative effects. Some more reduced damage taken. So yeah, here's my Templar. I've missed Templar dearly. They've been nerfed a lot, but you know, you can still make it work. It's such a savage combination when you hit them with everything at once. And yeah, burst is king in PvP, and that's one hell of a burst. Thanks for watching. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for watching. Templar is one of my favorite classes, and it feels good to be back. Lining up your burst with that shooting star ultimate is so satisfying. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'm always looking for tips to improve, so leave a comment if you have any improvements you can see. Thank you everyone for watching, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.